So this is something that most people wouldn't notice in their bee yards at this time of year. And what I'm noticing is a hive that has no wrap and no insulation. This is the kind of thing that you probably don't want to do if you're a new beekeeper. If you're a new beekeeper, you would want to follow the rules and listen to what your teachers tell you most of the time, because it's good to learn the rules of beekeeping before you learn how to break the rules of beekeeping, before you can learn what rules can be bent. When I first got into beekeeping in 2010, I was pretty obsessive about it, like most people are when they get into beekeeping. I studied the textbooks and the tests from 2 master beekeeping courses. I communicated and talked to and asked questions with some world-class beekeeping mentors outside of Newfoundland. And I watched hundreds and hundreds of hours of videos, and I read as many books as I could read. And for the first 2 or 3 years, I was pretty deep into it, and I learned everything and followed everything I was told to do. And then, probably around year 3 and 4, after my first swarm and after I had one of my colonies die over the winter, I began to notice that much of what I had been taught wasn't lining up with what I was experiencing, with what I actually saw in my bees. Then I realized that it was a lot of the things that I was doing were ill-suited for my climate. And I began to understand how much beekeeping is local beekeeping, that whole thing. You know, for instance, if you follow beekeepers in Southern California, like I did when I started, what they do in Southern California does not apply to what you do in Newfoundland. And these days, I bend or break the rules probably more often than I follow them. And this is probably a good example of that, because there's no insulation and there's no wrap on this hive. All it has is a wide open bottom entrance. I also have a 1/4 inch mesh, is basically a shrew-proofing mesh or mouse guard. And I have some mouse guards, but I bought a whole bunch of them and I can't find them. So they're the mouse guards that have the 3 8-inch openings. I think they're going to work fine for me in this area, because I don't think we actually have any shrews in this area. So I think the general mouse guard should do the trick, except I couldn't find them. So I had to just stick the 1/4 inch on for now. But as soon as I find them, I'm going to replace them. And then I just have a standard inner cover. This is a ventilation rim. And this is a 1 liter jar that I put on this hive probably, I can't even remember now, but it was probably more than a month ago. It was syrup that was spiked with a bit of that stuff that you use for treating or preventing nosema. I gave them a 1 liter of it, just to give them a little something. Because a few years ago I had my first colony die from nosema, and I figured, okay, let's just play it safe and just give them a little bit of protection from nosema over the winter. And so that's what this is. But there's no insulation, there's no wrap, there's nothing. In any case, this hive should have insulation on it, and it should probably have a wrap on it too, though I've had these hives going in this location without wraps and without normal insulation for I think it's 2 or 3 years now, at least. Maybe this is the 3rd year, and they do fine. They're well protected by this. They're sheltered by all these trees, and then right behind me is pure sun that they get all day long, and they're painted black, and so they're not really battered by wind most of the time, and it doesn't get really cold most of the time. I've had more honey out of these hives than I have from any other hives that I've ever kept anywhere. In much better locations too. So I don't know. These are the rules that I'm breaking, and they're working for me. So today I'm doing something that probably, again, you shouldn't do, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to completely remove that inner cover, and I'm going to replace it with this 2-inch piece of hard insulation. I think it's an R10 value. So is it R10 per inch? So is it R20 in real life? I don't know. I don't know how that works. Can't remember now. Anyway, I'm going to remove the inner cover and I'm going to replace it with this. So there will be no upper entrance. And there's two things to say about that. One, there's no upper entrance, but there is a hole drilled in this super right here. It's covered with tape right now. If they need an upper entrance, I'll undo that tape. Actually, I'll put a cork in there later, but that's where I'll pull the cork, and if I see the bees coming up, then I'll open the cork and let them come out if they want to use that as an upper entrance. So that's it. That will be their upper entrance. And some people have problems or have reported that the bees will chew through this insulation. I've never had that happen. My bees just don't seem interested in chewing through insulation. I probably should tape it up with silver furnace tape, because there could be some off-gassing coming out of that, but I don't think so. I'm not going to worry about it. And if there is, I'll look it up later, but if there is, I'll tape it up or do something with it. But that's what I'm doing today, and that's might be all I do. If I do anything with these hives, I'll probably only put a wrap around them, like a silver bubble wrap or something simple, nothing really too intense. But we'll see. If someone happens to donate a bee cozy to me, I'll give it a go. But anyway, so this is what I'm doing today. It's cold, it's freezing. I really shouldn't be opening these hives, but for the sake of science, for the sake of documentation, I want to show what's inside this hive. So we're going to be really quick with this. I'm going to pop the top off. I'm going to show the camera all around here, and you're going to see that there are no bees in the top box. The cluster is down here, and this top box is mostly full of honey, and you'll see probably a thin veneer of mold on some of those frames, because the bees have long since abandoned that box and moved down to cluster down underneath the honey. And the last time I checked, these bees were clustered down below. There was honey all above them here, on the sides and on the sides and in the front. So they're basically underneath a big block of honey. And that honey is like a heat sink. It's gonna hold in their heat. It's not, the heat doesn't all just escape and flow out of the hive like you might think. It holds in that heat really well. It's basically insulation. And this whole top block is mostly insulation too. Yes, there are cracks in, between the frames. There's space in between the frames, but that honey still seems to hold heat and insulate the bees well. So that's basically what I do, at least in this location. So I'm going to be really quick about this. There might be a propolis seal here, so I'm going to crack the propolis seal. Again, something you should never do, especially this time of year, but I'm doing it. I'm going to crack that propolis seal, and then I'm going to leave the bees alone for a few minutes, because that crack will cause a vibration to go through the hives and it might agitate them. I have no problem trying out things like this, because I have seen my bees live through a hell of a lot worse than anything they're going to go through right now, and come out robust and strong and ready to swarm by the end of May. It's just amazing how resilient honeybees can be in the right climate, under the right conditions. And I think these bees are like that. I continue to get more honey from these hives in this location than anywhere I've ever kept bees. And it's not central Newfoundland, it's not like central Newfoundland is, the bees just do good by default. It's so warm and there's so much forage, and it's just incredible compared to where I live. But in this location, these bees seem to be doing well. They seem to flourish. So here we go. All right, so I've broken the propolis seal, and that inner cover is ready to be removed. Again, you don't want to do this, but and the bees, from the vibrations of that propolis seal being cracked, were a little bit disturbed. And again, this is definitely something you don't want to do in cold weather like it is right now. because it'll probably take the bees about a week just to settle back into their normal cluster, because it's cold, right, and they're clustering, and then they have to break cluster when they're defensive like this, and it takes them a while to get the heat just the way they want it inside the hive, and it takes a lot of work. But I'm not too worried about it because they have plenty of honey in there. They're not going to starve, and I think they're going to be fine. All right, so here we go. Again, this is not what you want to do, but I want to show what's going on inside a hive at this late in the year, just for your edification. Oh, well, some of them came up. All right, well, here we go. Let's just see what happens. Okay, look at the moisture in the hive, though. Anyway, that's it. You can see. So these are the bees that just got riled up. You can't see it too well. This is a bad example. But you can see there's a little bit of mold on those frames, but it's all capped honey. And the cluster, you probably can't see it, but there's no bees in that top box. And that's it. So again, don't try this at home. But you can see, whoop, so you can see that that's nothing but honey up there. And I've just disturbed them, and I don't want to do that again. And that's it. That's the last time I'll disturb them until probably, or at least look inside the hive until probably January. I'll probably clean out some dead bees from the bottom entrance at some point, just to keep that clear. But that'll be their main ventilation. Most of the condensation, in theory, should be repelled by this insulation and drip down the sides of the hive, and the bees should be okay. So it's not textbook, but I think it's gonna be all right. All right, so here it is. That's the insulation taped up top. I'm going to put this wax dipped telescoping top cover on top of it. Thing weighs a ton. And that's it. This is the little hole I was talking about. Oh, and there they are. Now those bees are up top right now because I got them riled up. But they won't be like that once they settle back in. So they've got a full big block of honey up top. Nice warm insulation up top. That honey is also insulation. They've got insulation on the sides, and on the back and the front in the form of honey. And they've got a wide open bottom entrance for exchange of air and an expulsion of CO2, all that jazz. I think I could just pull this off open like that and leave it like that. I think that wouldn't, I don't think they're going to lose much heat out of that, and that will provide some extra ventilation for, for let more fresh air in, let all the CO2 out, that sort of thing. But I'll leave it like this for now. I think they're going to be fine. I keep saying that, like I'm trying to convince myself, but yeah, it's true. I love it when I'm done for the year, when I'm done mostly for the year anyway, when the hives, there's nothing else I can do for these bees. That's it, they're done. Whatever's going to happen, they're done.